State Champs are back with their new album, Kings of the New Age. There's been a lot of hype around this album, and I don't think anyone would disagree that State Champs are one of the biggest bands in the scene. And with a pop-punk revival happening right now, what better time than for some new State Champs? I've been a fan of the band for a long time. I think the first time I ever saw them was around 2011, maybe 2010, in the Beat Kitchen here in Chicago. Maybe Man Overboard was headlining. That kind of rings a bell, but it was during the time of the Shades of Grey era of State Champs. That was the first song I ever heard from the band, and I still jam it from time to time. Before diving into the album, I did want to talk about this alt press interview with lead singer Derek Descano. The interview covers a lot, talks about State Champs' thoughts on the current pop-punk revival, their current place in the scene, and of course they detail and reflect on the new album. We've been wanting to do more features for a long time. This album has a sense of tough ego to it, almost like a hip-hop album. In the past, we've only really done one feature, so it was cool to step outside the box and bring friends in to collaborate. There are no rules here. We're breaking down boundaries. There's no such thing as genre anymore, so you can bring in whoever you want. That's the fun part. Lyrically, I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a lot of angst about getting out of toxicity in a relationship. Some of it is about the last crazy 2 years of weirdness we've had, but also appreciating and glorifying normality and wanting to do normal things again. There are some love songs too. It's been such a long writing process that there's been a roller coaster of stuff that's happened with all of us. I'm not one to consider myself pigeonholed in a certain area of pop punk, but I'm also not about the gatekeeping aspect of it either. I know there's a revival, but it's just a different time. Culture is changing, and TikTok is the biggest way to promote your band now. Who'd have thought? It's wild, but I think it's great. People can dog on it all they want, but ultimately it's bringing that style to the forefront of pop culture again. It's making kids want to pick up a guitar and start a band, and I think that's really important and special for our genre now. I love turning on the radio these days and hearing guitars and drums. If that turns people onto the internet, to YouTube suggested artists, and then you end up on a band like State Champs, F yeah. Why would I be mad at the MGKs, the Jadens, and the Little Huddies of the world? We can all coexist together and motivate each other. But, if anything, there should be a little friendly competition in it all. Who's going to carry the torch, and who's going to be here 2 or 5 years down the road? I guess we'll see. That plays into what Kings of the New Age is. It's almost a little jab. What we're really saying is, there's a new age, but we'll show you how to do this stuff. I totally agree with Derek's point there. It doesn't really matter where you discover these new pop-punk bands. If you discover pop-punk bands, these young bands and artists on TikTok, and then you also check out current bands in the scene that I talk about on the channel all the time, then, the exposure is good for everyone. I did also briefly want to talk about a Kerrang interview that Derek also did, where he and State Champs kind of take credit for Machine Gun Kelly joining the pop-punk scene. He was nowhere near doing the rock thing yet, and he was still in full rap mode. He would start to watch us every night, and we'd come off stage and he'd be like, "That's so dope, tell me more about the pop-punk stuff." Their next meeting was a year later in the dressing room of State Champs' Christmas show in Cleveland, Ohio. And by that point, the rapper had already started dipping his toe into the rock pool. I was like, "Hey, a pop-punk record, huh?" And he gave me a little smirk. He was like, "Yeah, bro, so I like to subtly hint that the reason Machine Gun Kelly went rock or pop-punk is because of State Champs. Just saying." So there you go, Machine Gun Kelly and State Champs. Who knew? Don't forget you could check out my review of Machine Gun Kelly's new album, Mainstream Sellout, link down in the description. Alright, let's dive into the album. First off, I know it's been out for a while, but Everybody But You is one of my favorite songs on the album. It might be my favorite song on the album. It's upbeat, it's catchy, a song about a breakup, or at the very least, disliking and hating somebody. I think it's going to be a lot of people's summer jam, upbeat, bouncy, just makes you want to move. One of my favorite songs, like I said, on the album, might be one of my favorite pop-punk songs that I've heard in a while. If nothing else, if you going in, and you haven't heard any of the songs on the album, I would definitely check out this one if you only have time for some reason for one song. One of my favorite songs on the record. Opener, Here to Stay, goes right into Eventually, and it's a cool 1-2 punch. That's ideally how you kind of want to open up a pop-punk album. 2 upbeat, fast, more pop-punky songs, and then it goes right into Everybody But You, which features Ben from Neck Deep. And when you have 2 of the biggest bands in the scene on one song collabing together, it kind of almost has to be a great song, and both bands nail it here. Like I said before, a great song and one of my favorites on the album. I really like Out of My Head and Some Minds Don't Change. It hasn't been this way recently, but there was definitely a point in the scene where every band ended an album with like a 7 or 8 minute long anthemic jam session or the one acoustic song on the album. So it's nice that State Champs didn't go that route and they ended with a more, fast pop punky song that's like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. And it's one of my favorite songs on the album, so it's nice that State Champs kind of ended it that way. As far as the features go on the album with Act Like That and Half Empty, they're both fine. I really was super excited for Sundress when I saw that 4 Year Strong and State Champs were going to collab. I thought, this is going to be awesome. And credit where credit is due. That around 2 minutes in the song, that build up, like the crescendo to 4 Year Strong, the vocals coming in, it does sound like you're going to get like this awesome 4 Year Strong, like Easycore kind of a song. But after listening to it, it wasn't the Easycore, more aggressive banger of a song that I wanted. So as far as like the more pop punky collabs, I think Neck Deep and Everybody But You probably wins on that front. But it's still a good song overall. It just wasn't like like I said, the Easycore mashup that I thought it was going to be. Overall, I like the album. It's bright, upbeat, fast, it's catchy, it's a pop-punk album. It's an album you want to listen to with the windows down and music loud. Is it my favorite album from the band? I think The Finer Things still takes that #1 slot for me, but, that album came out at like the perfect time in my life. And, The Kings of the New Age is probably, now that I think about it, #2 in my ranking as far as what are my favorite State Champs albums. I thought about this even before listening to the new album, but State Champs are easily one of the most consistent bands in the scene. Everything they've put out, I've enjoyed, and obviously on this new record, Kings of the New Age, it's another solid album from the band. What do you think about the new album from State Champs? Let me know down in the comments below. Please like and share the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Tell all your friends. Follow me on Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching.